At just 10 years old, I was lying there on the hardwood floor, blood pooling in my mouth, the sting of winter air sneaking through a cracked window. And what broke me most wasn't the boots landing on my ribs again and again. It was that smile on my mother's face, cold and far away, watching while I begged for help. You know, folks always talk about evil like it's this monster hiding in a closet, but the real kind. It wears slippers, stands in a kitchen doorway, sips coffee while you're on the ground gasping. And that night, I realized if I was going to make it out alive, it'd be by my own hands, not anyone else's. Out there, somewhere on Maple Street, the world was dead quiet, just frost clinging to the mailboxes, the street lamps trying to keep up with the falling snow. But inside, every sound was a hurricane. The snap of a boot, the thud against my side, my own breath rattling like glass. Victor, my stepdad, he was a wall of a man, rough jaw, hands built from fixing things, but all he ever did was break. My mother, Margaret, just watched. Used to be she'd braid my hair, tuck me in. Now she kept her arms folded and that little curl of a smile on her lips like this was a movie she'd seen before that I don't remember when I gave up asking her for help. That night, I whispered it anyway. "Mom, please," and her eyes never moved. So I decided to crawl. I was crawling for my life, body screaming, lungs burning, sliding past her robe like she was just furniture. Victor yelled, "You don't run from me." But I ran anyway. Kitchen, laundry room, hands scrabbling for that door. You ever twist a doorknob so hard you think your bones will break? That was me. The cold hit my face, and for the first time, it felt like hope. I left the house behind, the door wide open, the shadows still arguing inside. And let me tell you, the streets were empty, just me and the crunch of my feet. And I kept thinking, if I stop, I die. That's how I ended up under the bridge, shivering, praying maybe I'd disappear. That's when they found me. Not some fairy godmother. No, it was a cop, Officer Daniel Carter, and his partner, a German shepherd named Rex. Funny thing, I'd always been scared of big dogs, but when Rex pushed his warm body up against me, I felt safer than I'd felt in years. Daniel's voice, calm, steady, not pitying, not angry, just there. "You're safe now. I promise." He called for help, wrapped me in his coat, and Rex never left my side. The hospital lights were bright, everything buzzing, people talking over me. Dr. Helen, she had a voice that could cut through panic, but all I could focus on was Rex, his head heavy on my lap. There were bruises all over me, ribs screaming, stomach empty. "You don't have to talk yet," Dr. Helen whispered, but Daniel waited, patient. When I finally spoke, it came out small. "He hits me." I told them about the basement, the belt, the dark, about my mother's smile. I don't know what broke them more, the bruises or the words. Next day, Daniel went back with a warrant. They busted through our front door, Rex sniffing out the basement like he knew all along. The place stank of mold and secrets. They found the ropes, the little pile of my old clothes, the broken chair, and my notebook. I'd hidden it in the wall, every page covered in crooked writing, dates, what he did, how she just watched. Detective Mark, tough guy with a soft heart for kids, read it and just muttered, "Jesus Christ." Margaret tried to act like it was nothing. Kids exaggerate. But the truth was louder than her denial. In court, the whole town showed up. My hands shook when I took the stand, but Rex's eyes found mine, and Daniel gave me a nod. I told the truth. He hurt me. She let him. When the prosecutor held up my notebook, I felt like maybe I hadn't been invisible after all. The defense tried to twist it. "Children make up stories," they said. I just looked at them and said, "I didn't lie." And for the first time, people listened. The verdict came down hard. Victor, decades in prison. Margaret, stripped of parental rights, never allowed near me again. Daniel crouched beside me when it was all over, his big hand resting near mine. "It's done. You're safe." And for the first time, I believed it. Life didn't magically get easy after that. I was placed with the Harveys, Martha and George, a foster family in Cedar Grove. Martha's a librarian, laughs like music, always smells like old books and fresh cookies. George, a mechanic, hands rough but gentle, never once raised his voice. They didn't rush me, just gave me space. First night there, Martha tucked me in and said, "No one can hurt you here." And I slept straight through for the first time in months. Rex. Well, he wasn't mine, not officially. But Daniel brought him by almost every week, and somehow, the dog just knew I needed him. We'd run in the backyard, me in a sundress, Rex chasing me, both of us howling at the sky. Sometimes, Daniel would sit with us on the steps, sipping lemonade, the sadness in his eyes a little softer. "Do I have to go back?" I asked once, voice shaking. He shook his head. "Never. You have a new home now." Martha just hugged me tighter. George dropped a teddy bear on my bed, and Rex. He barked, sealing the deal that I still have scars. I still have nightmares sometimes. But I learned that family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when you're broken and believes you can heal. The girl who bled on the floor became the girl who runs in the sun, who laughs so hard she forgets to be afraid. All because one cop, one dog, and one stubborn hope refused to let me disappear. Sometimes, miracles aren't lightning bolts. Sometimes they're just a warm nose and a steady hand. And maybe, just maybe, in a world that's cold and unfair, we can all choose to be someone's Rex, someone's Daniel, someone's Martha. The reason another kid like me gets a second chance if this story made you feel something. If it made you mad, made you hope, made you remember someone who needs to know they're not alone. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, tell us where you're listening from. Justice isn't just a verdict. It's every choice we make to believe a child, to open a door, to say, "You're safe now." And that's a miracle anybody can give. I used to think the hardest part was surviving the night. That once the doors slammed shut on Victor and Margaret, all the bad stuff would just fade out, like when the credits roll at the end of a movie. But if I'm being honest, healing doesn't move in a straight line, and nightmares don't care if the sun is shining outside your window. Sometimes I'd wake up tangled in sweat-soaked sheets, Rex's big head nudging my arm, his eyes shining with that same patient promise. "You're safe. You're here. Breathe." You'd think a girl like me, after everything, would be scared of the world, but Cedar Grove felt nothing like Springfield. Martha's kitchen always smelled like cinnamon and clean laundry. Sunlight stretched across the floor every morning, and the house was filled with the quiet music of regular life. Dishes clinking, radio humming, George cussing out a stubborn lawnmower out back. For the first time, the bruises faded, my stomach filled, and I caught myself laughing, almost guilty, like happiness was something I'd have to pay for later. Still, it wasn't easy, and sometimes the past would creep in uninvited. At school, I kept my head down, used to being invisible. The kids noticed my quietness, the scars peeking from under my sleeves, and most gave me space. All except Mia Torres. She was the kind of girl who could fill a whole room with her voice, dark curls flying everywhere, questions tumbling out of her mouth before she even blinked. The first time she sat next to me at lunch, I almost flinched. She just grinned. "You like peanut butter or jelly more?" "This is important." I blinked, not sure how to answer, but she just kept talking, sharing her sandwich like we'd been friends forever. Mia was relentless, in a good way. She invited me to her birthday, pulled me into kickball games, even got me to help her paint a mural on the playground wall. "Your clouds are better than mine," she'd tease, paint splattered on her cheek. "Bet you got secrets, huh?" I wanted to tell her everything, but the words stuck. Instead, I just smiled, my first real friend in years. Still, the world isn't as simple as a playground. Daniel would come by the Harveys' house every couple weeks, always bringing Rex, always asking how I was settling in. Sometimes I'd catch him and Martha talking on the porch, voices low, faces tight. I'd pretend not to listen, but one afternoon, Daniel sat beside me on the steps. "You know, Sophie, it's not weakness to talk about what hurts. That's how you get stronger." He meant therapy, of course. Martha found a counselor named Dr. Patel, whose office had walls covered in colorful paintings and windows that led in the afternoon sun. She was kind, never pushed too hard, always letting me choose when to talk and when to sit in silence. Some days, I just stared at the fish tank, Rex sprawled at my feet. Other days, the words tumbled out, and I cried so hard my whole body shook. Dr. Patel told me, "Your scars are proof you survived. Your voice is proof you're still fighting." And for a while, that was enough. I learned to sleep through the night, to trust that the door would stay unlocked. I made honor roll for the first time, read every book in Martha's library, even started writing stories of my own. Sometimes about a brave girl and her dog. Sometimes about monsters who wore the faces of people you loved. But peace, it turns out, is fragile. One Saturday, near the end of the school year, something shifted. I was out back with Rex, tossing a tennis ball, when I heard a car engine stalling out front. I peeked through the fence. A sedan I didn't recognize, rusted, windows rolled halfway down. A woman sat in the driver's seat, sunglasses covering her face, a scarf wrapped around her hair, hands tight on the wheel. Something in my gut went cold. I watched as she stared at the house for a long minute, then drove away slow, tires crunching on the gravel. Rex barked, ears pointed, his whole body tense. That night, I told Martha about the car. She brushed my hair gently. Could be nothing, sweetie, just someone lost. But she locked the doors a little tighter, glanced at George with a look that said, "Let's not take chances." Daniel showed up the next day. He listened, wrote everything down. "Probably just a coincidence," he said. But he added extra patrols on our street and gave me his number on a card to keep in my backpack. Rex slept by my bed every night after that, head resting on my feet, body between me and the door. Weeks passed, and maybe it was all just nerves. But the feeling didn't leave. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses, a flash of a red scarf at the edge of the playground, a car idling down the street when the bus let out, always gone before anyone else noticed. Mia teased me for being jumpy, but she started walking me home every day, her voice bright, arms linked with mine. "No creep's gonna mess with us, right, Soph?" And I believed her, mostly, until one afternoon, walking home alone because Mia stayed late for choir, I saw the car again, parked a block from the Harvey's house. The woman was out this time, standing by the fence, pretending to tie her shoe. Her scarf slipped, and for a split second I saw her face. It was Margaret, my own mother, looking smaller, sharper, but her eyes still cold as stone. She looked right at me, didn't say a word, just stared. My legs froze, heart in my throat. Then she turned and got back in the car, drove away slow as ever. I ran home, breathless, told Martha everything. She called Daniel, who showed up in minutes, badge out, face set hard. "She's not supposed to be within 100 yards of you," he said, voice tight. They filed a report, added extra security, talked about restraining orders and court dates, but none of that made me feel safer. Margaret was still out there, still watching, still convinced her story mattered more than mine. The next week at school, I found a note in my backpack. Sloppy handwriting, my name on the front. "You can't hide from blood. Family is forever." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every shadow felt dangerous. But when I looked over, Rex was there, steady as always. Daniel came by again, sat with me at the kitchen table, hands folded. "You have the right to be afraid," he told me. "But you also have the right to fight back, Sophie. We'll keep you safe. I promise." The days blurred, school, therapy, patrol cars parked on our street. Martha squeezing my shoulder, George double-checking every window. Mia stuck by my side, her jokes louder, her hugs tighter. I was scared, but I wasn't alone. Not this time. And that's where things are now. A girl and her dog. A family built from kindness. A threat lurking in the margins, unresolved. But I've learned something about fear. It only wins if you let it close your heart. I still dream about the past, sometimes Margaret's cold smile, sometimes the basement shadows. But I also dream of summer light, laughter in the yard, Rex's bark echoing off the fence. I know danger can come back, can creep up even when you think you're safe, but I also know this. I'm not that girl on the floor anymore. If you're listening, if you've ever run from something or someone you thought you'd never escape, know this. You get to decide what happens next. Your story isn't over, not by a long shot. Maybe one day, I'll face Margaret in court again, or maybe she'll just fade into the background like a ghost who finally gives up. Maybe I'll keep building new memories, louder and brighter than anything she ever tried to take away. So tell me, what would you do if the past came knocking? Would you run? Would you fight? Or would you trust the people who've shown you what real family means? Share your story below. Someone out there needs to hear it, just like I did. And if you see a kid who looks lost, don't turn away. Sometimes, the smallest kindness can change everything. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hear what happens next. This isn't just my story anymore. It's all of ours. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember, no matter how dark it gets, you're never truly alone.